Good day, guys. Just bringing you an update on this Bitcoin forecast. So initially, I forecasted that price would come to this area and give us a reaction. That reaction would either be another wave to the upside, or we get a correction and then more downside. Okay? So what happened? What happened was price did get to this area. We did get this three-wave correction, but our downside became an X wave. So for those of you familiar with the Elliott wave theory, you would know that an X wave is a failed impulse. Okay, so we got this failed impulse wave here, and price continued in a correction. Okay, now what does this mean? This means that price will be going up, but it's only going up to go down. Okay, so we're getting this correction, which goes in line with this yellow forecast that I have on here, which you will see a little better in a while. So we're getting this upside, and we got, after our X wave, which was the wave, the new impulse to take us down, since it failed and gave us an X, we're getting a new wave cycle, right? So that new wave cycle is still a corrective wave cycle, and we're getting 1, 2, 3. That's our first impulse of that correction. Okay, now we're getting 1, 2, 3. This is a flat pattern. Okay, this flat could break the high and then give us this wave to the downside, which most likely won't break the low. But there are three scenarios where the flat pattern is concerned. There's one where it does not break the high, does not break the low, and there's another where it breaks the high or the low but does not break the other. Okay, there is also a scenario where it breaks the high and it breaks the low. All right, so we just need to watch to see how this wave, this final wave, how it plays out. Will it break the high, then come back? If it breaks the high and comes back, once it reaches halfway, your buy orders should be above the swing. Okay, so once it comes back, because it will come back at any time, could be a short wave as well. Once it comes back, it will trigger your buy entry and you go to the upside. Okay, now, as I said, this is first wave. This is 1, 2, expecting 3. And then we get our next wave, which is basically a measured move of this one here. Okay. Okay, this one is a bit off. All right, right here. Basically a measured move of this one to the upside. Okay, so this is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Now from this point, we'll be looking for our next wave to the downside, our next impulse, which I'm expecting could possibly become another X wave, but you would want to take that trade once you get a entry signal. Entry signal most likely will be a pulse. You get a pulse, a strong move to the downside, and then you get a correction, and it continues with another pulse. Okay, then at some point you get another correction, most likely here, and it pulses again and continues progressing to the downside. Okay, but that is a scenario we will have to wait and see if it plays out. But I would want to go short at this measured move. It could, give you an overshoot. You need to look out for that one. You get an overshoot. So basically, once it gets here, you will look for a signal, some sort of ending pattern or some sort of pulse to the downside. Okay, so if you get a nice ending pattern, you trade the break, and if you get a pulse, you wait for the correction. You can get into the trade on the break of the correction. Okay, so you put your line here. Once price breaks, you go short. All right, set your stop above the correction. Now, let's show you, let me take that off. Let's show you on a higher time frame what we can be expecting. Okay, so if we don't get this wave to the downside at this point and it comes back taking out the high, right, what will happen is we'll be going to this area here, right, which basically is this yellow forecast that I have on. Let me just go to the daily. All right, so on the daily, this was my original forecast, right? My original forecast was we'll either go in the purple or we'll go in the yellow. All right, so forecasted would come down from this area. I think it was around this area where I forecasted that we'd get downside to this point here. Okay, and we did get that downside, and it came down in 5 waves. So since it came down in 5 waves, what we can expect is a correction. Okay, now this correction seems to be coming deep. Now, there are a couple of scenarios that we can look at here, with this being our first impulse, this being 1, 2, 3, and then we get another wave. Let me just try to bring this over here. We get another one like this. Okay, we get this wave coming at this point, right, for downside. And this would be 1, this would be 1, 2, 3, and then we get our next wave, making this 1, 2, and 3. And then we're expecting more upside from that point, right? Now, why would we look at that way for upside? We would look at it that way for upside because this is our first wave to the downside, and this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, right? So this is our first impulse. This is a full correction here, and now we're expecting another wave like this, right? Another wave like this. But that wave is showing that it's not coming as strong as this one. It's showing that it's dying off. It's making smaller waves and smaller candles, and now we're expecting one more to the downside before we go up. Okay, back to the upside, and that upside could be very big. Excuse the roosters, guys. And that upside could be very big. We could be going to around 24,000 on Bitcoin. Okay, so we'll watch this one to see how it plays out, and I'm going to expect that from this point I'm more in favor of my yellow forecast. I was actually looking at my purple, but once you're in a correction, corrections can change, they can evolve, so you need to be able to trade with the price action. Okay, now the Elliott wave theory, from my research, I look at it as the foundation of all price action. It's actually the market makers' language. That's how I look at it, the language of the market makers. Okay, I recently found out for you to be a certified chartist, you must know the Elliott wave theory. Okay, so let's look out for this one. Let's see how it plays out. Let's look for this correction to complete itself and then look for upside. Okay, I would not want to trade it to the buy side on the break, though it can happen because Bitcoin is an instrument that can give you a wave after a correction like this and start corrective and still continue. Okay, I've seen that happen many times. Something like this. You get a sharp move and then it just continues to go. Okay, letting this be all of the correction, where typically we don't see this being all of the correction. Okay, so my chart reloaded. Okay, so we look for this to come give us one more down. Okay, so I would not look to continue buying it, and buying it right now is still not something that I would want to do. It's not something that I favor. I would prefer to wait for the sell side rather than try to take it on the buy side. Okay, so if it continues going, no problem. I just know what areas I'm looking for. I'm looking at this area and I'm looking at this area. These are the areas I'm looking at to short it. Okay, so once it gets to this area or this area, I'm selling. If it gets here, I sell and I trail my stop, and if it comes back against me, I get a break-even trade and I continue to this area. Once I get to this area, I look for another sell. Okay, so I'll leave you guys with this one. Thank you so much. I'll keep you posted. Bye bye for now.